This is, you, after being in Parliament, what was it, 3 terms?
Yeah.
Yes, 3 terms. You're now, this is the first, in 15 years, this is the first time you're out of Parliament. Looking at it from the outside, are you happy with what you see?
Okay, first of all, Parliament is Parliament. Parliament is an institution. It is provided for in our Constitution of the Republic of Uganda 1995, and its functions are the same. It includes the following: legislation, approval of the budget, carrying out the oversight on the implementation of government programs, and the Parliament is one of the institutions of the it's one of the 3 arms of government. We have the legislature, which is where Parliament belongs, and then we have the judiciary and the executive. Now, when you look at the functions of Parliament and between Parliament and these other institutions, these other arms of the government, Parliament is where the people of Uganda are. If you go to the Constitution, Article 1 says power belongs to the people. And if you take it, the pure orthodox concept of democracy, where democracy is taken as government of the people, by the people, and for the people, you expect that all the people are supposed to gather the 30-something million, almost coming to 40 million Ugandans would gather in one place and take decisions. But if you take practically, it's not possible. Therefore, Ugandans are represented in the forms of MPs, where the country is chopped into constituencies. And therefore, when you see that Parliament, it's like you're seeing the whole Uganda. And the article of saying power belongs to the people is supposed to be taken that power belongs to Parliament, where the people are there, representatives of the people. But when you see today what is happening in Parliament, vis-a-vis the relationship between Parliament and the executive likes undermining Parliament. For me, I see it from that point of view. I would like to defend Parliament in the sense that I defend democracy, I defend the powers of the people. If you look at this the current thing which is being debated in the social media and in the mainstream media, the relationship between the Prime Minister and the Speaker of Parliament, where Parliament took a decision against the program called Nyege going on in Jinja, which is considered to be immoral and against our moral principles as Uganda, because Uganda stands for God and my country. Now, the Prime Minister comes around and turns the tables against what the Parliament, to say the Speaker directed. If you compare the 2 officers, Prime Minister and the Speaker, who is the boss? The boss should be the Speaker. The Prime Minister should salute the Speaker. And even if you see in the hierarchy, the protocol of Uganda. So what I see as unfortunate for Parliament as a whole, and the Parliament of Uganda, particularly the 11th Parliament, is the continuous undermining of Parliament by the executive. The President likes doing this. When you see the behavior of the Prime Minister, Right Honorable Nabanja today, you should ask yourself, where is he deriving her powers from, her gas, whereas he can come and turn things which Parliament had said should be this way, and then he says, no, it should be the other way. So the biggest problem I see the 11th Parliament is suffering from is what we also suffered from in the previous Parliament, the 10th Parliament, the 9th Parliament, where Parliament is undermined by the executive. So that's the biggest thing. So it makes people not to really do the checks and balances which they're supposed to do on the implementation of government programs, on checking against the corruption, and many other things where there are supposed to be checks and balances from the side of Parliament. So that's where I would like to focus today.
Honorable Caps, will come back to you definitely as we continue in the debate tonight. But if you would like to actually see the functions of Parliament, they're stipulated under Chapter 6 of the Constitution, I believe articles starting at about 76. And yes, the roles of Parliament, like Honorable Caps Fungaru was saying, yes, representation, legislation, appropriation of the budget, and holding, yes, and oversight over the other executive especially. But yes, then there's checks and balances, how the three government do work. Mr. Muguzi, if I may come over to you, and again, starting very broadly, and you have observed, assessed, in fact, from where you sit, you begin from the campaign, even before they come to Parliament. And today we may not discuss that much, but from the parliaments you've been, following for over the years, the 11th Parliament, how is it doing in your view?
Well, thank you very much. I want to start from what is known, that Parliament by its nature is supposed to be an organ of people's sovereignty, because it's us, the people, that delegate our power there. And one of the reasons we do that is because of those four roles you have articulated. But the strongest one in the context of Uganda is the one that speaks to oversight. So when you look at the parliament we have, and yes, you are right, we have conducted studies of all the 10 parliaments Uganda has had. And one of our thrust, the thing we're interrogating, was the independence of that parliament. So when you look at the 11th parliament, the numbers in there, you get to see that it is NRM dominated. And that NRM-dominated parliament casts questions on whether or not they are able to effectively exercise that one of those cardinal tenets, cardinal roles of parliament, of oversight. Are they able to check on the excesses of the executive? In most cases, we have seen the executive instead being the one to exercise oversight over parliament. Now, this parliament, with the numbers we have, 527.
Yes, 529.
You spoke about the quantity of bills. We can also now speak about the quality of those bills. The quality of debate. What kind of debate are you going to do in a space of 3 minutes, like we saw them being allocated? So it started on a good footing, a parliament that had kind of a better organized, so it looked, opposition. The opposition, the leader of opposition, putting out the opposition legislative agenda. So from the onset, we thought, oh, this is something new we had not seen. Okay? But there are and of course, there are quite a number of things they did. You can point out the position they took on Pinetti, and the position they took on other things. But of course, we've also seen them softening on things that they shouldn't be softening about. We've seen them not paying that much attention on the greater questions of the day, the things that are biting, the biting need of the electorate. When the prices of fuel went up, when the prices of those day-to-day commodities went up, and the government of the day was less willing to make any intervention in terms of subsidy and whatever they could have done, we did not see them come out strong enough. But beyond that, I think the performance of this parliament, the 11th, is going to be assessed based on how they are going to handle the question of how does Uganda transit from what it is to where it wants to be. Are they able, are they men and women enough to take positions that, and some of them will be hard positions that will drive Uganda to the next level? Is it a parliament that is, and one of the things we require to see by the way of parliament, it's now clear that we cannot continue with the trajectory of the numbers. The discussion we need to have, is how do we reduce the numbers in that parliament? Okay? Because the huge numbers we have are not working.
Some have suggested that we start by taking the army out of parliament.
Are those not just 10?
Yes, they are.
But you see, you look around for studies that would confirm that representation translates into, effective governance, better parliament, and so on, you don't find them. And therefore, we argue, and always have been, that there is no reason why a district of Uganda cannot be represented by two individuals, a man and a woman, in which case that would bring down that parliament to half. That would be a manageable number. We also, one of the other things you also want to look at is the quality of the men and women on the floor. In another place where I have been, one of the arguments I've been putting across is, we look across the street in Kenya, and we look at the quality of citizens that participate in the political arena, and you get to see that almost the intelligentsia in Kenya participates. And with intelligentsia, we look at the business elite, the academic elite, the managers, and then you come to our parliament. You look at, except for a few caps fungaroos of this world who the electorate did not deem fit to return, but most of them are below par. So how do we make sure that it's a parliament that starts a discussion that works and transforms the mindset of the people that should be in that spaces? And lastly, there's the whole obsession about Museveni, okay? Losing the bigger picture that is Uganda. Okay. Is it a parliament that is going to see beyond the Museveni, shadow, so that they are able to legislate in hindsight, having a Uganda of tomorrow and Uganda as a nation? So there are many questions I think we will look to see that this parliament answers, but I think the big one is beyond the quantity of these bills. Are they able to step forward and be man enough on situations that require them to stand firm? His parliament, they tried as opposition when they were lifting the only roadblock that was left of the age limit.
The age limit.
We do not know what is coming. We hear on the horizon people speaking about constitutional review. What exactly are they going to change? What is the interest? And when push comes to shove, we need to be able to stand up and be counted. So those are some of the things we still remain to see.
All right. Obongi County. In what district is Obongi?
Obongi is Obongi district.
Obongi is now a district.
But Obongi came out of one of the first 16 districts of Uganda, Moyo district. Moyo was originally known as Madi district, just like Teso was known as, Soroti was known as Teso district, Lango was known. So this is names which were given in the names of tribes for districts. For example, Acholi district, Lango district, Teso district. It is. But they became Soroti, Gulu, Lira, Moyo, in the names of the capital, the major town of that area. So Moyo is one of the earliest districts of Uganda, and it has been divided into 3. Produce Ajumani, produce Obongi, now the mother remaining Moyo. So that's where Obongi is. Now, the issue of parliament, number one, is whether or not the powers of parliament are respected, regardless of the numbers. You can have few people. If you put on a graph, few you bring down, the fewest number is 1, at least. You cannot have a parliament without a person, and you call it a parliament. So a parliament must have at least a member, and the member cannot be also one. Speaker cannot chair the meeting where he or she is the only person. The parliament must have at least 2 people or something like that. Now, if this parliament with a small number of people is not respected, it will not also be effective. So the first thing we should have as Ugandans is to empower parliament, to make sure that parliament stands out with its powers as it should be. And then the people who are outside there must respect Parliament.
Before you go further,
yes,
on the powers of Parliament,
yes,
you know, yes, these powers are given and stipulated by the Constitution, but in many cases, and he did allude to this, Parliament giving up its power that it has, and ceding it especially to the NRM, because many of the members in the current parliament and the last couple of parliaments we've had from 1996, is it? That really, from 2005, when we brought parties back, has been NRM dominated, you know.
That's one
has
of
the parliament given up that power itself?
You see, that is one of the areas where Parliament needs to be protected. First of all, lawyers or lawmakers or law itself is nothing without the force to enforce it, the physical force, the coercive arm of the state to enforce the decisions which are made by the lawmakers. Now, here is a situation where Parliament is weakened by what would have been the arm Parliament would use to enforce its own decisions. For example, the armed forces, the police. If you say, this is what we want, parliamentarians are not supposed to go and fight and do physical fight. It is the law will say, okay, police go and do this, army go and do this. But now you see, President Museveni poses as an army man if you want to undermine Parliament. Even in this thing of sending many NRM MPs to go there, President Museveni actually coerces constituencies, imposes people through constituencies to go there. He uses the army, uses money to this and that. I want this one, I want this. Like for my case from Obong, everybody knows I'm out of Parliament not because Obong people rejected me, but army, police were deployed there. It was like war. And the good thing today, I salute the Obongi people. Up to today, they still give me the respect like I am their leader, I am their person who served well, and I live comfortably in my constituency. I move really without any fear. So the problem is not the people. The problem is Museveni and the army. So the army should not listen to one person. Actually, this time of these 5 years where this 11th parliament is a big test, a litmus test of whether or not democracy is sustainable, democracy is there in Uganda. Because one, Museveni is likely to be off the list of people who command the army, because there's a lot of talk and there are many signs that he's not going to be there in the next regime. Now, who is the army going to listen to? Number two, what is going to be the new parliament like? Are we still going to continue maintaining these soldiers in the parliament? Police was also talking about...
Because he reminds us that there are only 10 in parliament.
No, but even if it is one, you see
that
the
will
concept,
only bring it to 511.
The concept,
519, actually.
The concept is wrong if you see that the army being in parliament, they pose a lot of threat undermining parliament. Remember what happened to us when we were trying to defend the constitution against the removal of the age limit. Soldiers were deployed there, were beaten in parliament. Some of us had to flex a little bit of muscles there in the parliament. I was physically there. This is not a story that I'm relaying to you. I was there in it. We saw commandos jumping there. There were also some of us who wanted to practice some bit of taekwondo
on the
there.
table.
So
in
parliament was surrounded. Even if parliament was to fight those people on one-to-one basis, outside you see parliament was besieged. The whole army was there, up in the ceiling, everywhere. Soldiers were there with guns. So these are the things which undermine parliament. Even in NRM, it is not only that NRM against the other political parties. In NRM, things are also very bad. There are constituencies in Western Uganda and districts like Isingiro, Kiruhura, Kazo, where literally there is no election. In our post-election...
according to the records, those places vote 100%.
There is no election there. Let me tell you this. Our report of evaluation, post-election evaluation as FDC, we went there, we went around. I was shocked when I found out there that people in Western Uganda, particularly in these districts, want change badly. They want change so that they can practice what is called democracy. They were telling us that you people, at least you are better in your constituencies. You vote. For us, we are given orders. If you come to the polling station by around 11 in the morning, you are told that everything is over, you go back home, voting is finished. You find, you have not voted yourself, but you find that somebody, your name is ticked. Your name is ticked like that. So, in Western Uganda,
as FDC, have you given this information to
elections? First, listen to this. Elections were marred with violence. Even within NRM, people died in districts like Kazo.
You talk about the NRM primaries?
In the NRM primaries. And what happens there is the people who are associated with the first family, relatives, friends, and in-laws of the big man, the president on one side, and then when you go to the side of Ntungamu, the first lady, these are the ones who command who to be sent to parliament. You see?
Fungaro,
So that is the cries of the people of Uganda.
There was a brother of the president
Yes.
in one of the constituencies,
Yes.
and he didn't win the election. Somebody else came. So
the message we got from there, and when you look at the facts, there are some cases even where FDC is supporting some people who have gone to court because they were beaten badly, they were tortured. So the whole formula there is not NRM. It is who is connected to the first family. Now, using that example, when you go to other areas, if the president is against so and so, no matter whether this person is in the opposition or in the NRM, this person cannot stand in any election and win. And no matter whether people like him or not, the thing is, they will use the army and then they issue a slogan.
Was it only in 2021 when these forces you're talking about were against you? Because you won 3
even in 2016, it was like, whoa, the same thing happened. That's why for me, I did not think about going to court. I said, this is the order of the things. This was said they don't want Fungaro there. They don't want this type of people there. In 2016, it was war, bullets all the time like that. Only that, we were able to counter that force and we were able to win even in the ballot paper. But this time around, they brought a bigger force.
All right.
Like a full brigade was deployed there. So for us, we said, okay, let us leave it at this point. My people, let us relax. I know your feelings. I know what you stand for. But this is not only about opposition. It is also in NRM. The examples I've seen, I've given you from that side of Kazo, Rwampara, Kiruhura, and then you go to Ntungamo, those places in Western Uganda. It is the violence against the will of the people. And this is what we should address first. We must make sure that these things go with Museveni. And I ask myself, what type of army do we have? Actually, we need a debate with the army and with the individual soldiers. Are you blindfolded? Are you not able to see these things, these bad things which are happening here in your country? How do you claim you are going to Somalia to promote democracy when democracy is dying here in Tungam? It is dying here in Kaso. It is dying in Obongi. In Uganda, here. How do you go to Congo to solve problems of Congo when here? Your country is that. So there is actually, you bring for us Kulaije here. I bring the army here. Is the UPDF blind? Are the soldiers blind? Are they not seeing these things that their country is going the wrong direction? You see, the debate should now be narrowed to those people in uniform because they are the ones responsible for the evils we see here. The weaknesses of parliament come as a result of the army trying to overtake parliament. The UPDF, compared to the army of Somalia, the Somali National Army is better than the UPDF in terms of democracy. Because the Somali National Army managed to protect their constitution. The outgoing president of Somalia wanted to adopt the ways of President Museveni, of moving the goalposts, changing articles, amending the constitution. It was there.
But it's parliament that amended.
You see, the army came out and told the president, in Somalia's case, that Mr. President...
Honorable Fungaro,
yes.
we're saying that when the age limit was lifted,
yes,
the question was put, and MPs didn't even vote by voice. It was one by one.
It is the army. Forget about what we are saying here. Now, let me give you the example of Somalia, which we should learn from. When the president of Somalia wanted to lift this thing of term limits, the army said, no, for us, we cannot support you in doing this, Mr. President. And when the army said no, the prime minister got guts and went to tell the president in his face that, Mr. President, don't tap with the constitution. Now, look back to Uganda. Can Right Honorable Nabanja go to Museveni and tell Museveni that, Mr. President, don't do this? See, he's the prime minister. Can he go to Museveni and tell Museveni? Museveni said, we just say, throw her out of the room and say, where were you when we were fighting the bush? Not even Uganda, the mighty man. Not even Amama Mbabazi. No prime minister, nobody in this government of Uganda can go and tell President Museveni that, Mr. President, this one is wrong, don't do it. Because President Museveni has personalized the army like this. He uses the army as and when he wants, as a personal property, a personal army. So what we need is a debate with the army and a debate with the individual soldier. Are you seeing, or you are blindfolded, you are not seeing that the country is going bad? All right. This is the debate.
Honorable
Kulaije should come here and the individual soldiers should be faced in this debate also.
All right. Honorable Fungaro pegs it on the army, and therefore the power that Parliament should have and probably is not able to exercise, he says, is because the army has, basically, I don't know, usurped that power or is being, in his.
We are in a military dictatorship. That's the thing.
By the executive. Your views on some of those views, and the fact that he also brings up, he took us back to, the elections. And it won't be fair to you to speak about violence in elections, and yet you have a specialty in looking at another aspect that influences our elections.
The money in it.
Yes.
So you see, Honorable Caps Fungaru, we need to understand that the man Museveni came here and faced us Ugandans in 1980. Civilians. He wanted to become president. We denied him the ballot, the votes. But that did not, subdue his ambitions to become president. So who made him become president?
The gun.
The army. He went and fought with the military. He has kept in power because of that. You keep deceiving yourself, going for elections, you participate, when you go to parliament. For you, you see an election. For him, you see a military expedition. He sees a military expedition. And that can be told by the level, the volume of deployment. Now, do you think that military owes any allegiance to Uganda?
No.
That UPDF is a personal army. So I think, this 11th Parliament, where we started from, these are the narratives you want to, the discussions. When will Uganda start having, or the journey to having it, so an army for the state called
Mr.
Uganda?
Mr. Muguzi and Honorable Caps Fungaro, conversations about the army have been brought up in Parliament very many times. Parliament passed a law, the UPDF Act.
Correct.
That stipulates, the establishment of the UPDF as the army of the country, how the UPDF, is governed and managed. The Constitution speaks about the army.
Absolutely.
Precisely. So
the practice.
Then where
the issue is the practice.
In your
because you see the issue is practice, and then you keep asking yourselves, that army we are talking about, what in its feeling and its mentality, does it pay more allegiance to the country and citizens of Uganda or to the person, Mr. Museveni? That is for Ugandans to answer. Now, these elections we go for, really, we need also to I think, to start a discussion, again in Parliament, because that is the organ of our sovereignty. We talk about transiting from one president to the next. But what about from a military system to a democracy? Because we don't have one.
Actually, the debate.
We don't have one.
The debate should
How
not
do
be in
transit?
Parliament. The debate should be in the barracks. The debate should not be in Parliament. It should be
is it the national dialogue that has been, clamored for a while, and now it seems like there's a person from the opposition in cabinet to drive the agenda of the national dialogue and a transition of power, or at least that's how he states his role and his reasons for joining the cabinet.
Nobody Mao.
Yes.
You see, my brothers and sisters who are watching here, nobody Mao has been in that parliament, just like they have been in that parliament, just like the other people have been in that parliament. The solution to these problems of Uganda will not come from parliament. It will not come from the cabinet. It will come from the army. Because look at what is going on today. We recently came out of by-elections in Soroti. What did the army do there? We came from elections in Kasese. The same story. You see, army men deployed. To make things worse, there are some people who don't put on military uniforms. They carry guns, and the army allows them to pass. They are like agents of the armed forces, the institutions of state like the army and the police. They do these things of violence. So the debate now should involve the soldier, should we involve the institution of coercion, the army, the police, the army man, the policeman, the policewoman, the policeman. Are you blind? Or you are able to see what has blindfolded you? This is the question.
Yes. If I remember correctly, you did serve a couple of years on the Committee of Defense.
Yes, not only that, I was also the Shadow Minister of Defense. You are the Shadow Minister of Security.
Yes, of Defense and Security.
Yes.
And you know that the army and the personnel there are limited from having conversations in relation to politics, to partisan, issues. So how do you even get them involved in these conversations?
Actually, I'm advocating that the space, the limitation of the army's involvement in politics should be lifted. Because they have been forced there. They have been put there as signposts. They sit in parliament, they don't engage in debate.
Listening posts, yes.
Listening posts. Now, when it comes to issues of violence, catching up the legs of politicians, stopping them from active participation in politics, the army is used. And these army men don't talk. Have they not seen this? This is the debate. Have you been blindfolded?
What do you want them to talk?
So you want that, those provisions lifted so that they can freely speak about...
Let the army now take over the debate. Let people face them. Those who are given orders to go and shoot. Not these generals who have retired and they have gone home. After going home, you have left your uniform there. What is saluted on you is the uniform. You have left it there. You become ordinary in the civilian case. The power that disturbed Uganda, you left it behind. So you cannot bring Sejusa here. You cannot bring my own General Ondoga Michael from Moyo Jumani. That's my brother. First of all, I congratulate him for going through the system and has retired there. Now, what kind of debate are you going to engage in when you are now a civilian like me? So we want this debate to be done by people like Kulaije. Not even those who are coached. Kulaije is also a wrong debater because he's the army spokesperson, he's coached, you speak like this. But we want an ordinary soldier who comes from the trenches and he's asked, haven't you seen these things which are going against the principles, the doctrines of democracy, freedom of expression, freedom of association, and respecting the constitution? Why is it that when the constitution is being abused, when the parliament is being raped, things are going wrong for you support the president? Museveni also is not like a badang. I don't know whether Museveni is a boxer or something like that. He doesn't derive his force from his muscle. He's from the gun, from the army. So someone must tell him that, no, Mr. President, don't do this. And this person must be a soldier. So the debate must be taken there to that level. Because we are tired of talking things which cannot work out. As a Shadow Minister of Defense and Security, I was among many who ever brought questions again and again. And the speaker brought, after having received these questions on the floor of the House, they will call the Minister of Defense. Or the Minister of Internal Affairs, my brother, and then Honorable Bigakania from West Nile, will come here and labor to explain when the police had already beaten people on the road, in parliament, in a meeting. After again, this talk, the army will go back and beat people tomorrow and tomorrow again. So now let us ask the soldiers, are you blindfolded?
All right.
Are you not able to see?
All right. So
there's a point he's making,
yes.
and I have been reflecting on it as well, and I think I share your view. Uganda, this country of ours, has never witnessed peaceful transfer of power.
Never.
Right.
So what I'm calling
They
for is
also
a
tell
debate.
us. They also tell us. So if you have never experienced transfer of power, peaceful transfer of power from one leader to the next, what are the chances that this time around it will be different? So we have been thinking that actually, until he finds it in himself, Mr. President, okay, and says, okay, now I am stepping aside. I am going to oversee an election where I'm not on the ballot paper. But for that to happen, somebody must speak to him. And the best person to speak to him would be the army. And unfortunately,
yes.
the generals that have the backbone to speak to him,
They have
and
left.
they are the ones who have. So when
Without
I saw the
speaking to
massive
him.
exodus, I was like, now, all the help hope we had is dissipating. Because the current crop of generals, the ones that are coming through the ranks, they have the backbone. to be the man.
Gentlemen, if you could just look at, you know, the transitions that we have had, at least, because the questions that you are putting across are questions that have been put across before. And, you know, every 5 years, government does change. And from 1986, the changes, you know, from one, you know, set of leaders to the next has been largely peaceful. Isn't this, you know, something worth crediting? And, you know, every year, as you sat in Parliament, you got opportunity to listen to the president, to actually, you know, and at certain times Parliament has had opportunity, 11th hasn't, and I don't remember if the 10th did, but the 9th did, opportunities to interface, you know, with the president and put some of these issues to him.
You see, we have done this. I for one, have ever had a face-to-face interaction with the President Museveni. In my life as a member of Parliament. Here in Parliament, State Lodge Nakasero, State House Entebbe, there are meetings which have ever brought me face-to-face with the President. But the thing here is this. You can talk what you want to say. We can allow you to say what you want to say, even when you're angry. After saying, it is now the issue of implementation. If he doesn't want, it dies there.
Okay, so what does that...
There is that sense of impunity, the sense of saying, so what? You have talked, so what?
Honorable Fungaru, so
kind of thing.
what does that mean?
My message is, don't blame Parliament alone. Don't say Parliament is weak, Parliament. You ask, what is that thing which has weakened the Parliament? You remember Norbert Mao? Norbert Mao was a champion of debate. He was an excellent debater in his early days in Parliament. And eventually he lost the steam. You can see, if you trace one